Hi guys, so I hope you are fine, and today we are starting with the chapter reading number 36, credit default swaps. I repeat, reading number 36 in the fixed income topic, credit default swaps. Now, to understand a credit default swap, we must first segregate the chapter. So I have the learning outcome page over here. So we have 5 learning outcome statements in this chapter. Okay, so we are going to divide this chapter into 5 sections. Namely, all these 5 LOSs will be the 5 sections of this chapter. So in each video, we are going to cover each section in detail. Each LOS we are going to cover in detail, so that no stone is unturned and no examples or no questions are left. So we are going to solve all the examples in the videos so that the concepts are very clear to you guys, and I hope that you will like this video. So now let's just segregate the chapters, the sections in this chapter. Okay, that how we are going to go about this chapter. So first we are going to start with LOS A. So LOS A is basically like an introductory LOS on the credit default swaps. It basically talks about what is a credit default swap and what are single name and index CDS and the parameters that define a given CDS product. Okay, so it talks about that. Next, after LOS A, we are not going to go into LOS B or C. We are going to straight jump on to LOS D. Okay, we are going to LOS D. After LOS D, we are going to go in LOS E, and after LOS E, we are going to go to LOS B, and after LOS B, we are going to end this chapter with LOS C. So you can look at the plan again over here in the notes which I have prepared. This is the plan of the chapter. See, we are going to start with LOS A today in this video. After that, in the next video, we are going to cover LOS D. In the video after that, we are going to cover LOS E. In the video after that, we are going to cover LOS B. And in the last video, we are going to cover LOS C. That is the 5th section of this chapter. And by that, we are going to end this chapter. So this is going to be the plan of the chapter. You can also note down the plan of the chapter so that there is no aloofness when we go ahead with the chapter. Now let's start with the chapter. So LOS A, describe a credit default swap, single name and index CDS, and the parameters that define a given CDS product. Okay, now, so I just want you to look at this diagram. First of all, CDS is the most popular credit derivative, whereby the underlying is the credit quality of an entity called the reference entity. If you look at this LOS page, each LOS's keyword is describe, explain, describe, and describe. So there is no calculate word. So that hardcore calculations which are actually there in a credit default swap chapter are not possible to be given in this exam. So you have to understand that while doing this chapter, we have to focus more on the theoretical portions and the understanding of the concepts in this chapter to make the questions right. Okay, so each and every LOS's keyword is describe or explain. So we have to describe or we have to explain each and every concept over here, and we do not have to focus that much on the calculations of everything. Okay, so you have to do the chapter with that perspective. Okay, now if we start with LOS A, LOS A says describe a credit default swap. First of all, so for describing a credit default swap, first of all, you can think before credit default swap, think of an insurance contract. So what happens is that in an insurance contract, what basically happens is that suppose there is a party X. He wants to buy a mediclaim policy. He wants to buy from, suppose, a health insurance company. So he goes to the health insurance company. He talks to the insurance agent. He tells him that, sir, I want a mediclaim plan. Okay, so the insurance agent shows him many kinds of plans. After showing him those plans, what happens is that this party X chooses a plan which is suitable for him, and then he buys that plan. So as a part of that insurance contract between the party X and the company, the party X has to pay premiums, namely insurance premium, monthly premium or quarterly or yearly premium to the insurance company. And what will happen is that if party X has some health issues and he has to bear some medicine cost or hospitalization cost, so that will be borne by the insurance company. So this is what happens in an insurance contract. Okay, that there are two parties to it. One is the insurance policy holder and the second party is the insurance company. So what happens is the insurance policy holder, after buying a policy, starts paying premiums. So he keeps paying the premiums until some loss or damage happens, and when the loss or damage happens, the insurance company makes good the loss for him. Okay, so this is exactly what happens in a credit default swap also. So for the basic understanding, you can think of a CDS as an insurance contract. So just look at this diagrammatic presentation. In this diagrammatic presentation, you can see this company A. Okay, this is the company A, which is called the reference entity. So let us not denote it by company A. Let us denote it by, suppose, Reliance Industries Limited. Okay, this company is Reliance Industries Limited. So Reliance Industries Limited has issued many bonds in the market. I, as party X, I have bought one of the bonds of Reliance. Okay, suppose it's a senior unsecured bond. So I have bought a senior unsecured bond of Reliance. This bond which I have bought is known as the reference obligation. This bond which the party X has bought is known as reference obligation. Now, party X has bought this bond. Okay, now just listen up, that if we buy a bond, so we are taking many types of risk over here. One of the risk is the market risk. So what is market risk? That if the interest rates go up or down, on the basis of that the bond price is changing. We call it interest rate risk also. The second is the default risk. So what is default risk? Default risk is the risk that the company of which I have bought these bonds, the company may default. Okay, this entity A or the Reliance Industries Limited may default on its bonds. Okay, it may have a credit event, it may default on the bonds, it may not be able to repay the debt, or it may skip an interest or coupon payment. Okay, so that is one of the risks associated with bonds also. And the third is also maturity risk. So if we buy a long-term bond, so there the duration is much larger. Okay, if suppose we buy a zero coupon bond, so zero coupon bond has the highest duration, and duration is the sensitivity of the bond price towards the interest rate. So there are many types of risk that we bear when we buy a bond. Okay, so in this chapter we are solely focusing on the credit risk part. We are not focusing on the market risk or the maturity risk, but we are focusing on the credit risk. This thing needs to be clear to all of you before you study this chapter, because otherwise the concentration will be divided into many areas that is not at all needed. Okay, so we are focusing on credit risk. Now if you see this bond, I have bought this bond. Okay, now to mitigate or hedge the credit risk on this bond, what I will do is that I will find another party known as Y. So Y may be a big investment bank, suppose Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan or Deutsche Bank. Okay, so what will I do is that this party X will go to party Y. He will talk to him in a meeting. He will tell that I have bought this bond. Now I want a protection on this bond. I want to mitigate or hedge the credit risk on this bond. So what will happen is that this Y will say, okay, you can buy a credit default swap from us. You can buy a credit default swap from us. So what you have to do is that you as the protection buyer have to pay certain kind of a premium to us. Okay, it's just like an insurance contract. So you have to pay certain kind of a premium to us. That premium in percentage terms is known as CDS spread. Okay, credit default swap spread. So spread is in the percentage terms into that notional principal. Notional principal means the par value of the CDS. Or suppose we have bought a $10 million CDS. So $10 million is the par value. Okay, that is the notional principal, and on top of that we have to pay a 2% spread. So $10 million into 2%. We have to pay that much as premium. Okay, it may be a monthly premium or an yearly premium or a quarterly premium, whatever is decided between these two entities. But this party X has to pay to the party Y. Now, what will happen is that if suppose in this company, Reliance Industries Limited, a default happens. Okay, a credit event happens, a default happens. So what will happen now is that this protection seller, this party Y, will make good the loss for party X. Okay, so this is a classic CDS contract wherein there is a reference obligation that I have bought. Okay, and if this company defaults, this party, the protection seller, will make good the loss for me. Now this party X is known as the protection buyer because he has bought protection. Okay, this party Y is known as the protection seller because he has sold the protection to us. So this party X may be compared to the insurance policy holder in our example, and this party Y may be compared to the insurance company. Okay, it may be compared to the insurance company. Now I just now told you that this company defaults. So this company defaults means what? On which bond? On this reference obligation or on any other bond that it has in the market. So when we come to the LOSB in the later part of this chapter, we will study that credit event. The author has described a credit event into three parts. One is bankruptcy, the second is failure to pay, and the third is restructuring. So if any of these three events happens, then it's a credit event. So the protection seller is liable to pay to the protection buyer. Now, in this case, if this entity A or Reliance Industries Limited defaults on any of its bonds, it may be a senior bond, it may be a junior bond, it may be a subordinate bond. So if it fails to pay interest or coupon on any of its bonds, then it may be termed as a credit event. Okay, any of its bonds. Now, so this is a CDS contract. Okay, this is a CDS credit default swap. So we are okay with the basic introduction about a CDS contract. So think of a CDS as an insurance contract for the basic understanding. So now we should move further into the concepts. Okay, now it is not necessary that the protection buyer already owns the reference obligation. He might be simply speculating that the reference entity will default. So at the outset, we now understood that we can compare a CDS to an insurance contract. But this is just a basic understanding. We now need to come out to the reality world that CDS is a financial product. CDS is a financial product that is actively traded in the market. Now, I may not be owning that reference obligation which I was talking about. I may not be owning that bond. I may not be the owner of that bond on which I am buying a CDS. I may be just speculating that a company may default in the future. So in speculating that the company may default in the future, in anticipation to that, today I may buy a credit default swap. I may buy the protection. Okay, so that I can sell the protection at a later date at a higher spread, and then I can earn some profits. So an arbitrage may also happen relating to CDS, and we will also study many strategies that links the CDS markets with other markets also, and some arbitrage type strategies also we will study in this chapter in the later LOSs to come. But this is not our focus right now. So let us just focus on the fact that CDS is a financial product. If it's a financial product, we can trade in that. Okay, suppose let me give you an example. There is a company, there is a random company, say Apple Incorporation. So Apple Incorporation has issued some bonds. Okay, now I think that Apple Corporation's credit quality or its credit worthiness in the future is going to deprove. So what will I do is, in anticipation of that, today I will buy the protection. Okay, today I will buy a CDS, because if I am buying a CDS, I am a protection buyer. So protection buyer means I have to pay the premiums. Okay, and then maybe an offsetting party that also believes that Apple's credit quality will improve, so he may sell CDS. So now it actually becomes a buy-sell thing. Okay, understand the thing that it is becoming a tradable product, that I as a protection buyer have a different view on an entity, and the other party as a protection seller has a different view upon an entity. So we both enter into offsetting contracts. I buy the CDS, he sells the CDS. So if I buy a CDS, I have to pay the premium. Okay, now if the credit quality worsens in the future, that means if Apple defaults, so what will happen is that the protection seller with whom I came into offsetting contract has to pay me. So he has to pay me a very large amount. So that means I'm going to profit in the future. So I may be just speculating that the reference entity will default. I may not actually own the bond for buying a CDS on that bond. Okay, now danger. Okay, there is a big danger about what I'm going to talk right now, because many students in the exam get this part wrong. Okay, now do not get confused by long and short CDS. So basically, let me talk about long and short first of all. Okay, before going to CDS. When we talk about long, we often relate it with buying. So if we tell going long on a stock, that means we have a bullish position. Okay, we are bullish on that stock, we want to buy that stock. And whenever we tell about short, that means we have a bearish anticipation, we have a bearish position, we want to short sell or sell the stock. So basically when we talk about long and short, we often relate it to buy and sell. Okay, but here the thing is a little bit different. What happens is that if in a question they say going long on CDS, going long on a credit default swap, that means not buying a CDS, not buying a protection. Listen to it very carefully, guys. Not buying the protection, but instead it means going long on the credit quality of the reference entity. It means to go long on the credit quality of the reference entity. So you are anticipating that credit quality of that entity, suppose Apple Incorporation, is going to improve in the future, that means you are a protection seller, because you are thinking that the credit quality will improve. So in anticipation of that, you will sell protection. Okay, so you are a protection seller. So going long on CDS means protection seller. And likewise going short on CDS. So going short on CDS does not mean that we are selling protection, but it actually means that we are a protection buyer. That means we are short on the credit quality of the reference entity. We are short on the credit quality. Okay, we are thinking that Apple's credit quality in the future is going to deprove. Okay, so we are short on the credit quality of the reference entity. So we are a protection buyer. So many people actually get confused between long and short. They think that long on CDS means buying protection and short on CDS means selling protection. But it is not the case. It is actually the opposite of it. So how to conquer this thing? How to conquer it? The best way to conquer it is to play on your strength. Now what is your strength? Your strength should be telling everything in terms of protection seller or a protection buyer. Telling everything in terms of whether we are buying a protection or we are selling a protection. So if you can tell in terms of that, you can actually do the opposite. So if you find out in a sum that this guy is a protection seller, suppose Mr. X is a protection seller. So if he is a protection seller, that means he is going to go long on CDS. So what should you do is, in any sum, if you face this kind of a difficulty where they give you everything in terms of long and short, you should think upon your strengths. You should think about protection seller and protection buyer, and then once you have thought about these two, you can actually do the reverse. So if he is a protection seller, he is long on CDS. He is a protection buyer, he is short on CDS. That is the best way to conquer this thing. And after this, if you try any sum and you think like this, you will never get it wrong. Believe me. Okay. Now, so this was a dangerous area about which I have actually, made a signal to you. So please keep this in mind. Okay. Now, you should also realize that CDS is an actively traded product in the OTC market, and one can monetize the gain or loss by squaring off the positions. Okay, so that is a very obvious part of it. So the part that I was telling you right now is this one only, that it's an actively traded product. It's a financial product that is actively traded. So I just may be speculating that the credit quality is going to worsen, or an offsetting party may be speculating that this reference entity's credit quality is going to improve. So we both get into offsetting positions, and after the profit is made, I can square off my position. Or if the protection seller makes the profit, he can square off the position. Okay, so it's just like any other financial product. It's just like equity or a bond or a derivatives position, anything you can think about. Okay, now, so having been told an introduction upon CDS, okay, I have explained to you that what is a CDS, how do you look at a CDS as an insurance contract. Then I also brought a reality world to you that CDS is an actively traded insurance product. I told you about the long and short. Okay, so long and short is a very, very important part that you can make a mistake in this chapter. And if you solve the back-end questions of this chapter, so you will also get questions like this, that automatically if you have made a mistake, you will remember my words and then you will make it right. So there is no need to worry about it. Okay, it's not a hi-fi concept. Now, let's move on to part 2. Part 2 is single name and index CDS. Okay, single name and index CDS. So what is a single name CDS and what is an index CDS? Now single name CDS is very, very easy. We have been learning single name CDS right now, that there was a particular reference entity, say Reliance Industries Limited, on which we have bought a protection, on the bonds of which we have bought protection. So that is a single name CDS. So single name CDS means a particular reference entity is there. Okay, the protection that we are buying on a particular reference entity is called single name CDS. Okay. Now, so we do not have to study anything about this. Okay, we do not have to study actually anything about this, right? So that is single name CDS. Now let's go on to the main topic that we are going to discuss over here, and that is index CDS. Now what is an index CDS? So basically, let me tell you a story. Okay, so I am a businessman. Suppose, let's come out of CDS right now and let's just think about this story. I am a businessman. I am often busy with my business from Monday to Thursday, suppose. Okay, and Friday, Saturday and Sunday I have the time to go through the markets. From Monday to Thursday I'm busy in my business. I have to deal with clients, I have to talk to customers, I have to look after the operations. I'm the CEO of a company, so I have to do that. Okay, but Friday, Saturday and Sunday I get time to actually watch the markets, and I like trading also. Okay, I like trading. Now what is going to happen is that if I trade in the short term, okay, so day to day intraday trading, obviously it is not possible for me to do so, because I do not have that stock specific news. So what is the point of trading in specific stocks and then losing money, because the stock specific news is not there with you, because you are not in touch with the markets from Monday to Thursday, and your counterparts are actually in touch with the market the whole day. From 9 to 3:30 p.m. they are doing the same thing. They are sitting on their laptop screens. They are trading on the stock specific news. But you are not. You are a businessman. So what you can do is, if you have an idea about the general economy, or if you have a fairly good idea about a specific region, okay, then what you can do is that you can play on that region. Okay, suppose you have a good idea about India. Okay, you know that how is India going to perform in the future, what is going to be the economic growth. So basically what you can do is that you can trade in Nifty futures and options. Okay, you can do that if you like trading. So you can play on the general economy that is represented by an index. Okay, so this is what is index CDS. That if you do not have any information, or if you do not want a credit exposure towards a particular reference entity, but you actually know about a region, suppose North American region. So you know that, suppose you anticipate that according to the statistics and according to other information, North American region's credit quality is going to deprove in the future. So if you predict like that, then what you can do is you can buy protection on the North American region. But how to buy protection on the North American region? You can go to a North American index. Okay, so a North American credit default swap index is available, on which you can trade and you can play on that and you can earn profits. Okay, so that is known as an index CDS. So see, I have written it over here. If an investor or a trader does not want to take up the credit exposure of a particular company, but if he wants to take a credit exposure on the certain region, he may prefer an index CDS. So I hope guys the meaning of index CDS is actually clear to you. Now, popular CDS indexes. So what are the popular CDS indexes? Okay, so here I have made the list. So one is North America and the second is Europe. Okay, so in North America we have an index known as CDX. So CDX is further divided into two parts: CDS investment grade index and CDX high yield index. CDX investment grade index, CDX high yield index. So CDX investment grade index consists of 125 investment grade companies, and CDX high yield index actually consists of 100 high yield companies. Okay, so 100 high yield North American companies, 125 investment grade North American companies. Okay, this is one popular CDS index on which people like to trade. Okay, and the second is Europe. In Europe it is called iTrax, and iTrax has two further subdivisions. The one is main over the first is main and the second is crossover. So main is just like investment grade only. It also has 125 entities, and crossover is like high yield, but here it has 50 entities. So is this 125, 100, 125, 50? Do we have to remember this? I think we do not have to remember this, because they will provide us in the question. They will provide it to us 99% in the question, but still you can remember any few of it if you want to. Okay, but it's not actually compulsory. Okay, so now we studied about the popular CDS indexes. Now let us study that how does an index work? How does an index actually work? What happens in that? Okay, so let's take an example. So I have taken an example over here that is representative. Now, Party X is a protection buyer in a 5-year $100 million notional principal CDS for CDX IG. So first, Party X is a protection buyer. So if he is a protection buyer, he thinks that the North American region's credit quality is going to improve or deprove. It's going to deprove actually. That is why he has bought protection today in anticipation of that deprovement. Okay, in a 5-year $100 million notional principal CDS for CDX IG. So he has bought a protection for $100 million on the CDX IG. So CDX IG means it consists of investment grade companies, 125 investment grade companies of the North American region. So he has bought a CDS of notional 100 million on this CDX IG. Okay, first of all, now let's read further. That contains 125 entities. Now, one of the index constituents, company A, defaults and its bonds trade at 30% par after default. So let us stop right now. Let us first look at this part, that if 125 entities are there in an index, So CDXIG contains 125 investment grade companies. Now the total notional principal for which I have bought a CDS on that index is $100 million. So if the total notional principal is $100 million, so it's actually the CDXIG is an equally weighted index. So what do we do is we do 100 divided by 125, because if we want to find that on each entity what is the credit exposure, so we have to divide it proportionately. Okay, so 100 divided by 125 is how much? It is $0.8 million. So $0.8 million is the notional principal on a particular entity. Okay, so I hope you understood this, that if 100 million is on the full index, then 100 by 125, $0.8 million is on a particular entity, notional principal. Now, so I have written it over here. Total notional principal of the index is $100 million and notional principal of a particular entity is 100 by 125, that is $0.8 million. Now, let's look at the second part. One of the index constituents, company A, defaults. Now, the company A has defaulted. It is there in that index and it has defaulted, and its bonds trade at 30% par after default. Now, what is the meaning of its bonds trade at 30% par after default? So when you bought the bond, okay, when you actually played on that index, this company A now defaults. So what happens is that its bonds are trading at 30% par. So 30% par means that if you actually go into the market today and sell this bond A, this company's bond, this company A's bonds, if you sell it today in the market, you are going to earn 30%. So if you're going to earn 30%, that 30% is called your recovery rate. Okay, that 30%, this 30% is called recovery rate. So how much money have you lost? You have actually lost 70% of your money. You can see that 100 minus 30 is equal to 70%, because 100% is the par value and 30% now it is trading at. So 30% you can recover from the market. So what is that you cannot recover? 70%. So the protection seller, because you are a protection buyer over here, right? It was stated that you are a protection buyer. So now the protection seller has to pay you 70% of the notional principal. Okay, 70% of the notional principal he has to pay you, because you have lost 70% of your money. Okay, now if a company defaults, we get the recovery rate, that is 30% of par from the market. I have written in this case from the notional principal from the protection seller, but it is wrong over here. I have written it by mistake. We will get 30% of par from the market. Okay, because 30% is our recovery rate. We can sell the bond and we can get 30%. So how much will the protection seller pay to us? He will pay us 70%, because we have lost that much money, and that only we require from the protection seller because the company has defaulted. Okay, so now the protection seller will pay us how much? He will pay us 70% of 0.8 million, because every entity's notional principal was how much? It was $0.8 million. Okay, so he will pay us $0.8 million into 70%, that is $0.56 million. So that is our answer. Okay, and after that what will happen? So now let us see. After that what will happen is that, or if we do not do 0.7 into 0.8, okay, if we do not do 70% of $0.8 million, we can also do the calculation in the second way, and that is 0.8 million, that was the notional principal, minus 0.3 into 0.8 million, because this is what we are going to recover, right? So how much we are not going to recover, and how much the protection seller is going to pay us is 0.8 minus 0.3 into 0.8, that is 30% of $0.8 million, and that is also $0.56 million. So you can do it in either ways. It is upon your choice. Okay, now after default, now this is the most important part. After default, that company will be removed from the index, and the index will continue with 124 entities and a notional principal of $100 million minus $0.8 billion, that is $99.2 million. So let me explain what is happening. Now the index had 125 constituents. One of the company had defaulted, company A. So now what will happen is that company A will get removed from the index. So the index will actually continue with 124 entities right now, and notional principal will be how much? The notional principal will be $100 million minus $0.8 million, because if the company A is getting removed, the notional principal on company A will also get removed, right? So out of 100 million notional principal, the $0.8 million notional principal will get removed, and we will continue with the notional principal of $99.2 million on the index. So this is what will happen. If a company defaults, it gets removed from the index, and the notional principal also gets deducted from the total notional principal. Okay, so I hope guys you understood the calculations in this index and how does an index CDS work. Okay, now let's come to the last part of this LOS. So the last part of this LOS says index spread versus entity spread. So now on this index we will be having a CDS spread. That means the CDS spread I told you earlier is the premium that we pay to the protection seller, the percentage premium. Okay, so this, if we are trading on an index, the index will have its own separate spread, and the firms, the constituents that are making up this index will have their own single name CDS spread. Okay, because they have their own spread, right? So what we can do is we can take all the spreads, we can calculate a complex average spread, and then we can say suppose 2.5% is the index spread. So we can calculate actually a complex average of these, and then we can find out the index spread. However, this calculation is not in our syllabus, so please do not focus on this at all. Okay, please do not focus, otherwise you will get confused. Okay, next, but just one thing that I want to say over here is that the index spread basically depends upon the correlation between the constituents. Higher correlation of default means higher spread. That means the index spread is basically dependent upon the correlation between these two entities. The 125 entities that are constituents of this index, the index spread basically depends on the correlation between these entities or between these constituents. Okay, so higher correlation of default means higher spread, or lower correlation of default means lower spread. So guys, this was LOS A. So in LOS A we discussed about what is a CDS. Okay, we discussed about what is a CDS, how do we describe a CDS. We also talked about the mistakes that people make in the long and short. Okay, so please remember that and please note it down somewhere, otherwise you will get confused while solving the questions, and your confidence will also get hurt when you get the questions wrong, if suppose you get the questions wrong. So we also studied about long and short. Then we came on to single name and index CDS. We studied about an index CDS, that what is an index CDS, we made up a story on that. Okay, and after that we studied how an index CDS actually works. Okay, we took an example to solve that also. So I hope guys you like this video. So if you have liked this video, please click the like button, and also please subscribe to my channel and share this video with all those people who are facing any problem relating to the credit default swap chapter, who are studying the CFA L2 curriculum. Thank you very much.